All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Razor from RazorTube coming at you today with the Hatchet. And this is a solo, duo, trio bunker base design for 2021 for the Rust Console Edition. And that goes for the Xbox One X, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and all the OG consoles out there. And this is a base design that I've geared towards mostly solo and duos, but you can fit a trio in here, and you can use it on any Rust Console Edition wipe that you play on. It's good, it's very versatile, and I'm going to basically start off by building the bones of the structure for you to show you how the footprint is, and then I'll show you in the end of the video how I outfitted my hatchet and how I basically utilize the space at the end. So it's up to you on where you want to put the stuff that you store in your base, but I just wanted to give you this sweet base design in order to get your wipe started on the right foot. All right, let's get to the build, and then after that we'll go over the base and I'll show you some of its weaknesses and its strong points. All right, in order to start the hatchet, so what you're going to need is about 5k stone and 5k wood. All right, so in order to start the hatchet, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking a, let me get rid of this. Jeez, always getting interrupted. You're going to take a triangle foundation to start off, and the point of it is going to be away from you. Go ahead and put that down. Once you put that down, you're going to jump on that triangle, look the opposite way, making sure that the point is pointing away from you, and put the other triangle foundation down. Once you've got that done on this triangle in the back, you're going to go on the right and left of this triangle foundation and place a square foundation. All right, once you've got that, you're going to go ahead back to the triangle foundation and put one on the right and left of the square. Once that happens, on the triangles you just placed down, you're going to go ahead and put two square foundations and attach it to both. And then you're going to go ahead and on your back two square foundations, you're going to put one triangle foundation on the back, one in the middle, and one on the left. So what's important about this is that this triangle foundation here is going to serve as your TC area. So what I like to do first is harden this. And then what I'll do is basically fill in the gaps. Now you can put a double doorway frame here, or you can put a window frame here if you do have the BP already. But I'm just, for all intents and purposes, going to put the double doorway frame here. All right, so go ahead and harden this. And I can put my TC. Go ahead and get my locks, place it. Good to go. Once you got the floor down, go ahead and make it all stone. And the initial first two triangles that you started with is going to serve as your bunker entrance. Once you have this little point, and I'll give you an idea of what this looks like from the air real quick, then we can continue. Once you have that point there with the two triangles, you're going to start your bunker entrance. And this is a stability bunker build, so you'll have to do the whole breaking of the twig to get out and whatnot, but it's pretty good. All right, so on the very front triangle, you're going to go ahead and lift a triangle foundation on the left, one on the right. You're going to go ahead and make those stone in the beginning of the wipe, but as you progress into the wipe, you're going to want to make them high quality. Anyways, now once you got the floor down, you're going to go ahead and put on all the walls. You put on all these walls at the front where you put the raised triangle foundations, you're going to go ahead and put the half walls. All right, so we'll go ahead and stone all this, and then we'll continue. This isn't a bad base. It's pretty big. I like the honeycomb option at the end that I'll show you guys, and it's pretty robust, and you can protect your TC fairly well. Now in the beginning, you're quite vulnerable depending on how you want to build your base. What I would recommend is put a double doorway frame here, and then one here, and then this area would serve as your beginner area. So you would stone these all your doorway frames, and then you would live out of the back of this like so. All right, now that we got this done, we need to finish the rest of the base. So what I'm going to put down is some doorway frames. And then towards the front, if you can tell, when you're looking at the front two triangles, there is a square foundation on the left. What I'm going to be doing is putting a wall here. And this is going to be my first loot room. Now before I put down a double doorway frame, I'm going to make my own shelf. And you do that by putting a half wall and then a square ceiling tile on top of it. Break the half wall. Go ahead and harden that. Then you got your own shelf for your loot. That's one of your first loot rooms. Now, I put a double doorway frame there, and I will harden these all to stone. Now, essentially, in the beginning, you're not going to have a lot of loot, so I would recommend stashing a lot inside of a box in a bush, or burying some of your loot or resources in a stash in the ground, and putting a sleeping bag by it. Anyways, all right, once I got this done, I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the gaps for my roof. And this space comes set with a roof access right off the rip, so you'll be able to combat door campers, and you'll have the high ground to shoot down on people if they're trying to raid your base in the beginning. Alright, so we got two more triangle ceiling tiles at the top. I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of an aerial view of this. Now, this is the entrance of your bunker base. If you haven't messed with the stability bunker before, you can check out some of my prior videos, and it'll show you how it's done. In order to build the entrance, what you're going to do is at the two raised triangle foundations in the front, you're going to go ahead and put a half wall of twig, another half wall of twig on top of it. The top twig half wall, you're going to go ahead and make stone. The other one at the bottom, you're going to go ahead and break. Now, this serves as your stability bunker entrance, and then after you build this, you're going to want to build your airlock for the roof access and to get into your own base. Now, what I like to do to cover the entrance of the bunker is put two triangle ceiling tiles in the front, and then here I put one down made of twig, but then I put walls like this on top of it, and then I end up breaking the twig with this triangle ceiling tile. What I like to do now is make those stone, then I'm putting a double doorway frame for my roof access, and then a triangle ceiling tile at the top, and here we have our roof access. Now you're asking yourself, okay, Razor, what do I do to get into the base, or on top of the base, to get in the entrance? Now, what I like to do in the beginning of each wipe when I build a stability bunker is have some type of step up. So whether that be a twig foundation or a hardened foundation, that's up to you. I like to make a twig so I can shoot it out and people just can't jump up on top of my roof whenever they want. So typically it looks something like this, and then I'll put a half wall here and be able to jump up on top of my bunker base, like so. Once I'm able to do that, if I don't want people to come up, I just pop that off, and I'm even harder to raid unless they have ladders on them. Now, back to inside of the base. So with a stability bunker, what you do, and this is just for my newcomers, you can skip this part of the video if you know how to work a stability bunker, but you take a half wall of twig and you fill in underneath the stone one you filled out earlier. After that, you're going to go ahead and place a triangle ceiling tile, like so, and then make it whatever material you want. Typically, I make this triangle, whatever material, I make the raised triangle foundations only because they can be soft-sided. Typically, you want to go high quality, but in this case, you're only at the stone tier because you're in the beginning of a wipe with your team, so I understand if it's kind of a weaker entrance at first. Now, That's just for all my newcomers. Anyways, let's get back to the rest of the base. I'm going to show you how I outfitted the rest of this base right now, and then I'll show you how my storage is set up. It's up to you on how you store things inside of your base on the Rust Council Edition. But this is a very strong base build. There's a lot of doorways for raiders to have to go through, and there's a lot of storage if you can utilize the space that I've given you. Now, I'm also going to show you some other stuff on how you can honeycomb your base to make this really hard to raid in the kind of end game of a wipe in the Rust Council Edition. Anyway, so let's fly back to my initial build. All right, so the aerial view of the hatchet looks like this. So if I'll sit here for a moment so you guys can kind of go ahead and look at what's going on. I'm going to walk through it and show you how I've stored all of the items in my base and where I have my sleeping bags to my furnaces and whatnot for the hatchet. Anyways, okay, let's get back to it. If you guys got this down, you're good to go. All right, so this is the entrance of my hatchet bunker base. So what I like to do is typically at my bunker door, that extra triangle here was to create a doorway. So if raiders did get to the bunker entrance, blow through a wall, they'd be faced with another door. In the first door, we have a research table and a repair bench. How I stored them is just one next to the another, and what you do is you just use them as needed. What you do is place the research table here with a large box, and then a repair bench here with two small boxes underneath to add storage for your base. I've also outfitted this base with the tuna can lamps only because you need a light source. If you can get like a better light source, then do it. One of the loot rooms I have, typically I put 3 large boxes on the bottom and the top, and I'll put 1 small box in the front so I can utilize as much storage as I can as a solo, duo, or trio. Now, the strong points of this base are not just the loot rooms, but in the back room, if you can see, I put a workbench in its own little triangle room. So now that you can pick up workbenches and they are actually worth something in Rust Council Edition, you always want to keep those away from raiders, and you want to obviously lead them away from your TC room, so that's just another door they got to blow into in the end. My TC room typically consists of 1 large storage box and 1 small storage box with 3 sleeping bags. You have the TC behind a window here, but you can have it behind a double doorway frame if you want, and same goes for the furnaces. Now, the reason why I have these one next to another is so when I smelt metal and any resources that I want to keep safe, I could store them in my TC or in my main loot room here in this one box to keep all my important resources all the way in back of the base. Now I'm going to give you another aerial view of this kind of lower so you guys get the gist of what's going on. And you can see my workbench here in its own room. It's got a loot room right in front of it. And typically you don't want to, make one room to where you got to crawl underneath to use the workbench. But I thought in this instance, by placing a half wall and then a square ceiling tile first, and then making my own shelf, and then putting the doorway frames in, I thought it was a good addition to the hatchet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go over one more time because I know it's hard to visualize, but this is kind of the footprint of the hatchet for the Rust Council Edition. This is a bunker base for solo, duos, and trios. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. The upkeep for this base is very cheap for any group or solo. This one only runs at 1,300 stone and about 200 metal frags, and that's with all the doors installed and whatnot. Now, you can put the doorway frames up as needed or however you want, but this will serve as a good footprint for you guys to follow. Now, from the aerial view, when I was showing you before, what makes this base so strong is you can see the TC in the back, that triangle. If you're familiar with honeycombing a base, I will definitely show you why this makes it so strong of a base. So I'm going to go ahead and trace the outline of this whole base with triangle foundations, and then I'll show you why this base is so hard to rate, especially for you solo guys. Alright, let's get this going. Put a square one down. Perfect. I like to use triangle foundations as I go around the base because they're smaller, easier to deal with. Sometimes you got to use a square, but that's okay. And then I'll show you one more aerial view of the honeycombed around it, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so what makes this base so strong is that you can go heavy on the honeycomb since the upkeep in the TC isn't too much. Basically, in order to get to the TC right now, it's only 2 walls, but if you want to make it 3 in the back, and if I get super high, you can see exactly how the honeycomb is placed. Just like this. What makes this so strong is when you start filling in the gaps between the triangles, it makes it for a good 3-wall type of honeycomb. So, for this instance, in the back towards the TC, when you have one triangle foundation off the back for your honeycomb, you can add 2 squares here, which actually adds 3 walls in order to get to the TC. Now you can add squares around the entire base after you put your triangles to make this a thicker base in order to be able to operate out of. So feel free to utilize or innovate when it comes to this base design. And for the final product, typically you guys can do your honeycomb how you want and store your items inside this base as you want. As I said before, you got the blueprint. This is what the back of the base towards the TC looks like. Here's an aerial view. And this is the Hatchet for the Rust Council Edition bunker base for duos, trios, and even solos for that matter. So, if you guys like what you see and you like the content, please drop a sub and a like. If you'd like more base designs by myself, you could always catch me in another build video. I'm going to be coming up with many base designs, whether they be bunker bases or just normal bases in general. And I will see you guys next video. And this is the Hatchet for the Rust